I, 54 female, sold my house to my daughter when I moved to another city. She had just had my grandson, and she and her husband couldn't afford a down payment, plus mortgage or anything like that. So our agreement is for her to pay me monthly over 15 years, and there would be no fees for that. Part of our agreement is that the house will be in her name when she pays me in full, and I will be able to use the guest room 2 times per year, 2 to 3 days, even if they're not home at that time. They agreed because nowhere would they accept this deal without extremely high fees. Plus, the house was nice. All of this was in a contract protecting both parties. It's always the same dates, my aunt and mother's birthday, and another annual event in the city that I love. The home has 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. When visiting, I try to avoid disturbing them and avoid causing a mess, but it's not worth staying in a hotel because it's expensive. Tourist region. It's been 5 years and my daughter had my other 2 grandchildren, preschool male and toddler female. I was recently talking to my daughter, and I remembered that I'd be staying at her house for 2 days for the city event. She seemed quiet and started saying that the boys wanted their own rooms and ended up giving the guest room to the oldest, so there was no room for me, and she thinks it's unfair to have to ask him to sleep on the mattress with his own room, so I could sleep on the mattress or pay for the hotel. I asked if the bed was still the same as in the guest room. She said yes. And when I asked if she would pay for my hotel, she said no. By the way, I have a lot of back pain and would end up sleeping on the mattress. She knows that. I was disappointed and said I thought it was disrespectful for her to even mention these options to me when we had our agreement. Then she started saying that it was her house and she could decide who would sleep where. This bothered me, and I reminded her that the house is still technically mine until she pays me the full amount, and that we agreed that I could use the guest room 2 times a year, and that my grandson is young, doesn't have back pain that would get worse if he sleeps on the mattress. She got angry saying that the reality is different now, and she has 3 children, so I should understand her side that my request isn't fair. Considering that at the time, she didn't have so many children and the reality is different now, but she's still angry that if I have to sleep in the hotel, she'll have to pay. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. When you sell a house, you don't get rights to it like that. If my bank wanted to stay at my house and take my kid's bed, I'd have a problem with that. She was accommodating for years, but now she has kids in an empty room being used sparingly. I don't blame her for using it. You're sounding quite entitled and lacking consideration and empathy. This is a giant power trip on your part. I feel like I'm going crazy reading this. She's not kicking the family out of the house for 2 days or at all, just wants the agreed upon bed for 2 nights. Not the idiot, obviously. You're just visiting for 2 days. The kid can't sleep on an air mattress or the couch for 2 days? Seriously? We always gave up a bed in my house when my grandma would come to visit, before we even had our guest room. Of course she'll sleep in my bed and not on the couch for a weekend. I'm with you on this. When I was little, one of us always gave up our bed voluntarily since my grandma had back pain and severe problems with asthma. We did that without any agreement as OP's daughter since we were decent and love her. Also, kids do great on air mattresses, and it always felt like an exciting thing to me when I was little to be sleeping on an air mattress. OP's daughter sucks though, and it sounds like she's raising those kids to be as entitled as she is. You had a deal. However many kids she has is irrelevant. They can share a room while you're visiting. If she stonewalls you on this, call in the selling price balance since she's voided the contract she made with you. If she has to choose between giving you the room for a few days or selling the house to pay you off, I guess she'd see your side a little better. I just can't imagine, contract or no contract, having my mother sleep on an air mattress because kids can't share a room for a few days. Like it's basic human decency and basic hospitality. Seriously, what's wrong with people? Daughter needs to pony up the money for your hotel. Your daughter has quickly forgotten what her situation would be had you not housed her. My ex-husband and I, female, are divorced. We have a teen son together, Mason. I got remarried to my husband, Nathan. My ex-husband and I used to argue about who should get Mason for the holidays back when he was little. As we got older, we started letting him decide. Last year, he spent Christmas with me, Nathan, and my in-laws. He complained that the experience was terrible because he said that Nathan and his family had little to no accommodation for his food choices. I'm not defending them, but my in-laws are quite traditional regarding food and a bit ignorant of what types of foods Mason eats. He also said he didn't feel as welcome as the other kids in the family and that Nathan forced him to share his personal stuff, like his phone, so that his step-nephews could watch Christmas movies. Yesterday, during breakfast, we were talking about Christmas and what we were planning this year, but then out of nowhere, he announced he'd be spending this Christmas with his dad at a rental Christmas cottage in his favorite town. I was stunned, and so was Nathan. I asked Mason when and how he agreed to this arrangement, but he pointed back to what happened last Christmas and said he didn't want to have another crappy holiday and be miserable. I told him that his dad should have come to me first, but he argued that he's already okayed it, so he saw no need for my opinion. So we started arguing, and he started complaining about me trying to ruin the experience. But in response, I told him that he had already ruined Christmas for me and his stepdad the minute he agreed to this arrangement. He got up and walked away after saying that I was being overdramatic. Nathan just sat there and looked down. I had a huge argument on the phone with Mason's dad, and he kept giving me an attitude and laughing and saying that I sounded pathetic. Finally, I told him I'd have my lawyer call him, and he backpedaled and said he wouldn't have done this if Mason didn't like it. He urged me to drop it and let Mason have this experience, or he'll resent me for missing it. Now Mason isn't speaking to me, so Nathan is trying to convince him to stay with us because our Christmas is ruined without him, but he won't budge from the looks of it. Am I the idiot for not dropping it as well? What I meant by why didn't his dad come to me first is that he planned to take Mason out of town, which is a big deal to me. There's going to be traveling. You are the idiot. So your son can decide who he wants to spend the holidays with, as long as he chooses you? Get over yourself. Start thinking of your son. You did nothing to make his holiday a good one last year. You let him be miserable and just defended your in-laws. Instead of supporting your son's choice, you throw a tantrum and threaten your ex. You're acting more like a kid than your kid. He also chose to spend it with you last year. Why can't he switch off this year if you let him choose? The only reason you give him an option is so that you get to lord it over your ex when you get picked. But now that it's gone the other way, you're throwing a tantrum. And you're going to ruin your kid's holiday and your relationship with him if you keep pushing this. The reason he only ruins Christmas is that he's not going to be there to be a free babysitter. He's ruining their case to relax and not worry about the kids. They probably told the family that he'd be there and willing to babysit so the parents can drink. This poor kid. That being said, he's a teen. He can decide where to spend Christmas, as per you and your ex's agreement. He did that, and you shame him for it and threaten your ex with a lawyer. I have no words. My daughter, teen, and I, male 35, live with my parents, and before anyone judges me, my mom is sick, and my dad needed help looking after her, and I needed help raising my daughter. So we decided this is best for all of us. Since my parents are both old, we do most of the chores around the house. We decided that we'll take turns cooking dinner. I hate cooking. My daughter is a really good cook, so whenever she gets into trouble, which is about at least twice a week, I make her cook instead of me as a punishment. This has resulted in me not having to cook in the last 2.5 months, which is really nice. And it's not even a bad punishment. It's a pretty easy one. My dad disagrees. Last night it was my turn, but my daughter was cooking again since she got into trouble at school. My dad called her and told her to sit down and told me he wouldn't let her cook again. He thinks I'm an idiot, but I disagree. You are the idiot. She's a teen. You're an adult. Clearly these punishments aren't working if she's cooked every single day for 2.5 months. Who's doing all of the work that goes into making a meal? Who's grocery shopping, planning what meals to make when, cleaning the dishes after, setting the table, etc.? Also, does she cook for all 4 of you? Twice a week is very frequent for a teenager to receive punishment for misbehavior. This makes me think that you're looking for things to punish your daughter for, so you don't have to cook. That is idiot behavior. And also, you're making her feel either like she's awful or constantly bad, or just that her dad is a lazy idiot. I'm unclear what she thinks, but both are a pretty miserable way to feel. Growing up, I was in your daughter's position, so let me explain exactly how she's probably feeling and where it'll lead if you don't stop now. I moved out when I was 18. 10 years later, and to this day, I hate to cook. I resented my parents massively for making me cook all the time. So your daughter's going to grow up hating both cooking and you. Do you really want that? You are the idiot. Don't turn out like my mom. My kid never comes home for the holidays or visits me. But why? Yeah, you are the idiot. She's also the only child in the household, and it's your responsibility to care for her. So stop placing caretaking duties on her. Also, I'd be super curious to know what the daughter's doing to deserve punishments consistently for nearly 3 months, because either OP is finding anything to punish his daughter and get out of a chore he doesn't like a child would, or his daughter has behavioral problems that OP's taking advantage of for his own benefit instead of seeking help for his child. My mother-in-law is a Muslim, so her prayer isn't related to eating, but something she has to do 5 times daily. My mother-in-law always pulls this stunt of waiting right until the food is already served at the table to do her prayer. It doesn't matter whether it's lunch or dinner, so everyone is forced to wait for her till the food is gone cold. She would always say, "Go ahead, don't wait for me. I don't mind the cold food." But it would be rude not to wait, so we end up waiting, and when she's done, she reiterates we didn't have to wait for her and that we should have eaten first. So this time I was really starving and decided to take her word for it. Everyone kept telling me to wait, but I told them, "Sorry, I'm just really hungry. You can all wait if you want," and then took a part of the main dish to my plate and started to eat amid various dirty glares. When the children saw me eat, they also couldn't hold back anymore and boldly reached for the food. Then everyone ended up also eating except my sister-in-law. When my mother-in-law came out, she was shocked when she saw everyone eating and the much more skimpy main dish. She said, "Why, yes, do help yourselves. You've stuffed yourselves full already." My sister-in-law immediately jumped in to single me out as the perpetrator who started this, while everyone else remained quiet. I told her I thought you didn't mind us starting ahead, and she said in a sarcastic tone, "Oh, you thought I didn't mind, huh? Your parents never taught you manners or how to respect your elders?" I extend politeness by saying that, but people who have some manners would know not to dig in like a pig. Others started to intercede to calm her down, telling her things like, "Don't mind her, she's young," while mother-in-law retorted, "What? Young? At her age I had 3 children," etc., and then told them, "I'm not eating her food," and went back to the room. I still found it funny and childish, even after we left, until my husband scolded me when we got home. He asked me whether I was satisfied now and why I couldn't just be patient, that I knew exactly what I was doing. But even if I knew exactly what I was doing, I believe there was nothing wrong with it, and I'm tired of her pulling these kinds of stunts. But at the same time, I did cause unrest within the family and stirred up things knowingly, which might make me the idiot here. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Normally I'd say her house, her rules, but deliberately always waiting to pray until the food is ready and then forcing everyone to wait for you to the extent that their food gets cold sounds like a power trip for her. Her reaction was then extremely immature and passive-aggressive. It sounds like she knows what she's doing and isn't used to being called out on it. Why isn't your husband mad at her for insulting you in front of everyone? She knows what she's doing. It doesn't sound like a nice person at all. I'm glad you enjoyed your food while it was hot. Your husband needs to learn that his mother is not always right, because he knows that this is a power trip for his mother and would rather steady the boat his whole life when it comes to his relationship with her versus calling her out on her crap. He's a coward, and this is a typical transference of anger as blame. That said, the best way to win this petty little game of hers is not to play. They all know this is BS on her part, but they were all too chicken to call her out on it, minus her yes woman and sister-in-law. You're not cooking anymore for them. There's no point in wasted effort and cold food because she does this crap on purpose. Sister-in-law can throw on an apron. To that end, Have a big meal before you get there. When it comes up, point out that there's no point in you going hungry that long, and you're not interested in eating hot food gone cold. Super petty option. If you continue to cook, don't turn a damn thing on until she goes to pray. Sit down with a drink after doing prep, and then find someone to chat with. When someone asks you why you haven't started cooking, oh, well, there's no point in starting before mother-in-law goes to pray, so I'm just going to wait for her so that she can have a hot meal when she's done. Put on the most sickeningly sweet voice when you say this. Pull out a snack, offer some to the kiddos, and wait her out. She'll crack, or someone else will. Either way, you're off kitchen duty on that visit. I'm male 30, have a daughter, young child from a previous relationship. Her mom will call Judy, 29, and I separated/divorced when our daughter was 2. We have custody split 50-50, which works pretty well. Judy got remarried about a year ago and is currently about 30 weeks pregnant. She's made this pregnancy a big deal, especially because she had a loss previously. I understand how difficult it would be, even though I've never experienced that. 4 days ago, Judy dropped our daughter off, and I could tell my daughter was upset. So I asked what was wrong. My daughter was saying how Judy and everyone always talks about the baby, making her sad that mommy doesn't care about her anymore. I told her mommy still loves and cares about her. I explained how everyone got excited like a party when babies were born, and how it was the same way when she was born. She said she was not excited. I told her it was okay to not be excited right now, and that it would be a big change because she'll be a big sister. I reminded her that she'd have to teach the baby how to be a good kid, and that's a big job, but she'll have so much fun, and the baby's gonna love her so much for teaching them, and will want to be just like her, and that made her feel better. So we had fun the rest of the time we were together. Yesterday, Judy came to pick her up, and my daughter said Daddy said that I don't have to be excited about the new baby. She also tried saying how I said she'd have a big job as the baby's big sister, but Judy instantly got mad and called me an idiot for not encouraging our daughter to be excited about her new sibling. What I said was not wrong. I just told our daughter that her feelings were valid, and I tried to make her excited about the baby by explaining her role as the big sister. So am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Of course it's okay for her not to be excited. Many kids aren't excited about new siblings for exactly the reasons she told you. Validating your daughter's feelings is the opposite of being an idiot. Brushing her off would have been much worse. Also, you actively tried to make her excited by explaining her new role. Judy's ignoring your daughter and is focusing on her new baby. Well done, OP. Keep talking to your daughter and for always being there for her. Your ex sounds like a migraine in the waiting. She needs to realize she has 2 kitties, not 1. You and your ex need to have a serious discussion about this. If your daughter's already feeling overlooked, it may only get worse once the baby's born, especially since she's only with her mom half the time, and the baby will be with her mom full time. Your ex needs to take your daughter's feelings seriously and work with you to ensure that your daughter gets the support and feelings of security she needs.